full marks to all Mizzou fans, everyone in Columbia. Ton of hospitality, and we loved, our crew loved being there. That atmosphere was awesome, and that's something, it'll stick with us for the whole season too.
It's Mizzou That Too here on KC Sports Summer. Tucker Franklin hanging out with Maggie Johnson, talking to you about a border war victory for the first time. Well, since 2011, they played the game. But, I mean, it's been a minute since KU beat Mizzou in the sport of football. And really, even both of them. It's been a minute since they've been in basketball now, too. Missouri owns the rivalry now. Maggie, how was it? How was the atmosphere out there in Columbia?
Let's just say, okay. So I was so looking forward to going into that stadium and waiting for that third quarter Mr. Brightside to hit. And Don't get me wrong, it hit. Like, I think I put on my Snapchat, it hit like crack. But they actually played it at the beginning of the game too, like before, like around when they played the national anthem. So it didn't hit as hard. I kind of wish they would have just waited and then played it. But then after that, they played it again in the fourth quarter, which was kind of crazy, but no, it was awesome. That's the best I've seen that stadium in a long time. Everybody's standing up the entire time. Everybody's yelling Mr. Brightside at the top of their lungs. The stripe looked great. The student section was amazing. The tailgates before were amazing. There were like no parking spots left untailgated. Our tailgate was awesome. We had a bunch of our family friends come, but then we were next to Power Mizzou. Power Mizzou had their big tailgate. Got to meet a bunch of people that listened to the show, so that was really cool. Oh, nice. But yeah, had a great overall weekend. I was nervous the entire game though.
Same. I was a wreck. We had a good showing out there at Holiday Distillery. Appreciate everyone who came out and hung out with us. Matt Miller as well out there, and as we got to watch Missouri beat Kansas, it was a good showing. Lots of Missouri fans there, so that did help out. There's a spattering of Kansas fans, but lots of Mizzou fans. That first quarter, I was sitting by myself. I had to go isolate myself into a corner to get my mind right and everything going into it. But had a good post game show. Appreciate everyone who hopped on the post game show afterwards. The celebration from Holiday Distillery. Had a good time. It was a good time out there, and it was a good time. Good thing that the Missouri Tigers won. But we do got a big show for you guys today. I'm excited to have Mike Monaco on, who was on the call for ESPN for the game. I think the ESPN did a phenomenal job at the broadcast. That was a really good broadcast for the renewal of the border war big time game. Thought it was only fitting to have him come on, give an unbiased perspective of Columbia and everything going into the rivalry game. As you know, this week's game against Louisiana might not necessarily be the most headlining game of the weekend, right? Like it's probably not gonna.
I think they lost 77-0 against Alabama last week, so.
And they lost their quarterback too. Like they don't have their starting quarterback anymore. Yeah, tough for the Raging Cajuns, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is tough. Wait. Yeah, tough. Yeah. I was like, wait, who do we play?
Yeah.
Wait. Oh, I'm wrong. Who did the Raging Cajuns play last week?
Oh, you were thinking of ULM.
ULM.
You were thinking of
Yeah. I don't know why in my mind I was thinking that. Totally wrong.
Well, they're both Louisiana. I think it's the same.
But I knew we were playing the Raging Cajuns. But I kept seeing ULM, and I'm like, oh, poor guys. They play us next week, but they don't.
Yeah, Raging Cajuns last week played. They beat McNeese State 34-10. McNeese State FCS school. So maybe they're not
in-state rivalry though.
Yeah,
but that's an in-state game for them.
That is they beat them 34-10, and they are 1-1 coming into this game. They're third in the Sun Belt. Good conference. Sun Belt's a good conference.
Yeah.
They lost to Rice 14-12 in week 1 of the college football season. Now they head to Columbia, and then after this, actually, they get Eastern Michigan, who is coming off a loss to I want to say Long Island.
LIU.
Yeah, they beat them. LIU beat them for their first win ever.
Some SEC school played them last week. Maybe Georgia or something like that. But they've had a few big games already this year. But speaking of some big games, there were some big upsets this week.
Oh, huge upsets.
Huge upsets.
Look,
I know.
Missouri, it was a good weekend to be a Missouri Tigers fan. I'll say that. Beating Kansas as the way they did, they ended up winning by 11, right? Probably should have won by a lot more when you look at how the things went. You had to spot Kansas some points, right? Had to spot them a little bit to get to make them feel okay. And then you get to watch later on in the day, Maggie. You get to watch Army. Shout out to our troops. We know here that Missouri, that at Mizzou, we're big troop supporters because we let Army win a bowl game, right?
We did.
Versus bowl. We support the troops. Apparently, so does Kansas State because they let them come into their home turf and absolutely trounce them.
Oh man, I feel bad for K-State. I do. I still think that their schedule is kind of favorable. I mean, most of the Big 12 schedules are pretty favorable, but
right.
Man, they almost lost to an FCS team last week. They obviously lost to Iowa State. I'm thinking maybe that like Ireland curse is
might be real.
Might be real. Might be real.
So the teams next year on Ireland, Notre Dame or not Notre Dame, TCU and North Carolina. So that could be fun.
Oh, yeah. But then also, how do you have in one weekend or like weekish? How do you have two players spitting on opposing players? Like, how did the Florida player not see Jalen Carter spit on Dak Prescott and then just did it in the game? And that ended up being really the dagger kind of for Florida. That's just, man, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, Billy Napier, he's definitely on hot. If he wasn't already on hot seat watch, his seat is steaming hot. I don't know how he recovers from this, right? I think Billy Napier, you know what? He just probably needs to get fired and then go back to the Sun Belt. I think that's probably what Billy Napier needs to do. Go back to the Sun Belt. This is actually the first time I just saw this. First time Missouri and Louisiana have played in a football game.
That's crazy. I feel like maybe because we've played a lot of Louisiana schools. There are a lot of small Louisiana schools, and we've played a lot of them. But yeah, that is actually crazy.
So we'll get this game at 3 p.m. Central Time as a 3 p.m. kickoff for Missouri against Louisiana. Again, like as I mentioned, the Raging Cajuns lost their quarterback last week. I think they went through like 3 quarterbacks maybe in that game that they played. So like they are in not a great spot. Missouri should handle it before they get a big time game against South Carolina. Can't let this be a trap game, obviously. Because South Carolina coming to town is going to be a big one. We did get Maggie an updated game time, kind of, because we didn't actually get we didn't get an official game time, 6 or 6:30 for the Missouri South Carolina game. That's going to be a big one as the Gamecocks are going to come to town in about a week.
Prime time. One of them, it's either on ABC or ESPN, so you really can't ask for much more unless College Game Day wants to come on down to Columbia, Missouri. Which there's only really 3 options I see being for that. I see the Utah Texas Tech, which is the big noon Fox game.
Interesting.
It's already been announced that it's the big noon Fox game. So they haven't announced if they're hosting it obviously yet, but it is that big
noon on Fox,
big noon game. And then the who was that other one?
I'm seeing right now Michigan at Nebraska, and I'm also seeing Auburn at Oklahoma, but they've already done games for both Oklahoma and Michigan.
Yep, they shouldn't do either of those. And then I think maybe the other one was Iowa State.
I'm seeing Florida, Miami. That could be an interesting one.
Florida, Miami could be good, but Florida losing didn't.
Florida, correct.
Did not help that.
Illinois
situation.
At Indiana.
That's what it is. It's Illinois at Indiana. Which I'm actually surprised that wasn't the big noon game. So that's kind of why in my mind I was thinking, are they saving that for game day? Indiana did host game day last year. Not that game day really cares if they repeat locations. They love to repeat locations. But I feel like those are the 3 big options for game day.
Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Missouri, Columbia has only hosted game day once, right?
For football, correct.
For football, and right. I think they've done it a couple times for basketball, for board basketball and such. But But I know that like College Game Day was at like Arrowhead for like Border War. The 2007 game, I think College Game Day was there, but it wasn't in Columbia.
It wasn't in Columbia. Only the 2010 year with Blaine Gabbert when OU was number 1 in the country. I think we were 11 or 12. That's the only game. And we broke College Game Day's records. That's why it always baffles me when they're like, oh, we're doing what's going to get the most eyeballs. We're doing this. I'm like, oh, did you not see that? Did you not know that record was set by Mizzou? So I think that would be a great game for them to do, especially because I think whoever wins that game, could go on to win at least 10 games. Like you're gonna learn a lot about both of those teams on that day.
That could be a game too that has some. I know it's fairly early in the season; it's week 4, but like it could necessarily have SEC title implications of who could play the title game, but when both their schedules shape out. So that could be certainly interesting. There are some interest that Auburn Oklahoma game that week would be interesting too. I know that they were literally just at Norman and they won't do that again, but like that's going to be a pretty good matchup that week too.
Oh well, yeah, you got Jackson Arnold going back to OU, which I think is huge, and also the way that Auburn lost late in that game last year in Jordan-Hare to Oklahoma. I think that's going to be a really interesting game. What time is that game at?
That game is at 3, I think. 3:30, so 2:30, because this is in Eastern time, so 2:30.
Okay. That's an interesting one for sure.
Should be a good one. Last little note that we have from the Missouri game, or from Missouri-Kansas game, I should say, from the Border War game. The officiating crew from the Missouri and Kansas game has been removed from their Week 3 assignment after a quote-unquote major mistake. And you might be thinking, like, this is what I was thinking. I was like, I didn't think the officials were like that bad in the game. Like, I didn't think that. Like,
I thought they were pretty bad. They got booed a lot during that game, but it wasn't for what they listed that they were getting removed from their duties for. Like I saw that and I saw that was coming out and I was like, oh yeah, they were terrible. They deserved it. And then I read it and I was like, wait, why do I not remember that punt? Like I was thinking about it. Oh, maybe it was the batted ball into
right. That's what I thought probably would have been like the issue.
I was thinking that. I was thinking they missed Jalen Daniels running out of bounds 3 times. And obviously that's reviewable, thank goodness. But they missed that. They called that terrible face mask call that was nowhere close to being a face mask. Right. Yeah, it was his shoulder. So I was like, yeah, there were a lot. There was also a missed hold on that big first down run that Jalen Daniels had in like the first or second quarter. It was early in the game. And then there was also the defensive pass interference that they didn't call, where you literally watched the guy ripping. I can't remember which wide receiver it was at this moment, but ripping his shirt, like she completely rips his shirt, like tears it to shreds. So yeah, I was shocked that they said it was because of that punt, but it didn't shock me that they got in trouble.
So Brent McMurphy, he reports that the Big 12 moves its officials in the Border War game because they allowed a punt to occur on a free kick in violation of Rule 2, Section 16, Article 6 of NCAA football rules. If you don't have your rule book in front of you, that's after the personal foul that was committed in the Connor. Was it Mizzou's first touchdown, right?
Yep. And I didn't see what Connor Tolson did, and I cannot find any film for it. But I remember hearing him like, "What is Connor Tolson getting a penalty for right now?" But
so they allowed Mizzou to punt it instead of a free kick. Which is in violation of this Rule 2, Section 16, Article 6. And apparently that is a big enough deal to say you cannot ref a game. This group does not deserve to ref a game next week.
And like we were talking about before the segment even started, Kansas still scored on that drive. Kansas got good field position. They still scored. It didn't, change the outcome of the game. Like potentially maybe the safety could have, just due to momentum, and obviously it's 2 points and then you get the ball back. We didn't score when we got the ball back. No, we did. We kicked a field goal, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah. But still, I don't think that what happened with the original thing that they're saying caused any issue in the game.
Right. I agree. Look, and there were some Missouri players that got some praise after the game. Maxwell Award gave it to Bo Perbula. He's the Maxwell Player of the Week He had 79% completion or 76.9% completion percentage, 38-39, 334 passing yards on 3 touchdowns. PFF gave he was on the national team of the week. Bo was with also Jamal Roberts and Kevin Coleman. Hell of a game for all of those gentlemen, as well as Dominic Giudice. Are we calling him Giudice? Did we land on that?
I think he said Jude. I think he said Judice.
Giudice. Okay.
But I mean, it is in Italian. It is Giudice, but
right.
He said Judice.
He ends up landing on. I think he got a couple of watch list awards for his performance in this game. It's been a minute. Missouri football keeps tweeting out all the awards they keep getting for this last week, so it's taken me a while to scroll and find it. But he was the Outland Player of the Week for that. So the Outland Trophy, big trophy in college football for offensive linemen as well. Also, Armand Mimbo, Tigers in the NFL, phenomenal game that he had against T.J. Watt as well. So pretty cool to see. Tigers going off and doing some big things. I know there's a few Tigers out there that were injured in the preseason, so you don't get to see them. Brady Cook on the practice squad. I think Harrison Meeves also on the Jets practice squad.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Mizzou guys on the Jets right now.
Yeah.
Luther Burden got a little bit of run in that Monday Night Football game. Doesn't get any bit of a catch, but he was that last little touchdown they had to Roma Dunze. He was the decoy on there, so they're using him as
he played decoy a lot at Mizzou, so
he's used to. He should be something he is used to. He's also changed his number 3 times. So shout out to him.
I know. I was so excited about that 87-13. Me and you understand it, but then to move it to 10, I'm like, oh, maybe I don't know. That's a quarterback number to me. I know it's not, but
is that what Chase anywhere in Chicago?
I mean, it's his number.
Right, yeah. I'm going to double check this real quick before we do get to our interview with Mike. I do want to check the Chase Daniel Bears. No, he's 4. Dang it. All right, that's fine. 4,
yeah, that's
a bad number.
You just kind of never know. Well, could you imagine if you bought his original jersey at 87? I didn't know that the NFL, if they switch numbers, if you order it from the NFL, that they'll switch it for you. You can send it back and they'll send you the new one. But just imagine you got 87, had to send it back at 13. Then you get it. Then you have to send it back. Then you get 10. It's a lot of work.
For a second round pick to change your number that many times already is kind of crazy. It's all because retired.
And he's gonna 3's not retired though, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh shoot.
Mm-hmm. That's why.
Guys, I know not very much about NFL play. I actually am not good at numbers for specific players. I mean, I know obviously Luther Burden is 3, and I typically know quarterback numbers. I'm so bad at numbers. Baseball player numbers, I don't really pay attention. I know Pujols and Molina.
Yeah. Do you think, I just thought about this. We didn't talk about this. I just literally just came into my head. Do you think Missouri should treat the number 3 like they do with number 7 at LSU? Number 3 is a weird number to do it with, but Kevin Coleman, I understand you could do it as your wide receiver leader. Maybe you could just have it not necessarily as LSU does it, your best player on your team wears number 7, but this is your stud wide receiver wears number 3 type of deal.
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm kind of pro letting players pick the numbers they want, just because
Absolutely.
If that's who they are. I feel as a football player, and I've never been a football player, obviously. A lot of people have told me that on Twitter, that I've never played football before.
It's healthy.
Yeah. I just feel it's part of their identity, almost their whole life.
For sure.
They start in middle school and then typically work that way up and try to be that number in college. And I just feel it kind of becomes part of you. So I think it would kind of stink if you were told that you had to wear a certain number, but I mean, if they must not mind at LSU, because that means you're the best player on the roster. So.
I think, was it Will Campbell, who was the offensive lineman who now plays for the Patriots? He was given the number 7. They obviously wouldn't let him wear number 7, right? Because he's an offensive lineman. That's against the rules. You can't wear number 7. But he wore a patch of number 7, but he's the first non-skill player to wear number 7 for them. They've changed the meaning of number 7 a little bit, because now it's player from Louisiana that they give number 7 to. So
Like a true son, basically.
Yeah. They could do something like that. I think with like number 3, it could be like one of those things where like, oh yeah, you get the number 3. I don't know. Just something I thought about. No, I didn't give a lot of thought to it, obviously, because it just popped into my head of the talk.
Yeah, just popped up during. We didn't talk about this pre-show.
No, not at all. But what we did talk about pre-show is our interview with Mike Monaco, ESPN broadcaster. He was fortunate enough to sit down with us and talk a little bit about this game and talk about everything going on with the Missouri Tigers, what his thoughts on the program, thoughts on the environment, and the renewal of the Border War. So we're going to take a break before we get into that. And then we will get into our interview with Mike Monaco. We will see you guys on the other side. We're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll see you then.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
Calling all Chiefs fans, you could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA Field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pre-game coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at Chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs.
What's up, guys? I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network, and I'm here to talk to Kansas City businesses. If you rely on technology, you need an IT support team that's not just another vendor, but a true IT partner. That's why I want to introduce you to my friend and neighbor, KJ Miller. He is a VCIO at ThrottleNet, the Midwest's highest rated and most reviewed IT support company. They've been in business for more than 25 years, helping companies stay secure, productive, and ahead of the curve. They aren't just IT support, but they provide data security, IT strategy, and cloud software services. They do it all, and their reviews show they do it better than anyone else. So if you want to hear about how ThrottleNet can help your local business, join the conversation with myself, KJ Miller from ThrottleNet, and our resident genius from KC Sports Network when it comes to IT, at least as he's affectionately known by us, Mr. Craig Stout. Click the link in the description to hear how ThrottleNet can help you.
What's good, everyone? It is KCSN betting analyst Benny Heiss. Something hit me as I was driving to the Missouri side, ironically, for something not available on the Kansas side. I cross over. I just can't get over how long sports fans in the state of Missouri have been waiting. It feels like forever. Good news is you don't have to wait much longer because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is finally coming to the Show Me State. And if you're thinking, yeah, but I got to wait on the sidelines until December 1st, it's not true. You can sign up right now. And when we go live, new Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets just for placing a $5 bet. $5. That's not even as much as a pumpkin spice latte that's going to take over. So it's not some ragtag sports, but this is DraftKings. You got live in-game betting. So if your team starts hot, you could jump in mid-play. There's lightning fast payouts. None of that wait 3 days for your money nonsense. And you've got more ways to get in on the action. There's no better way to start. It's all from your phone. When we go live, you'll be betting with a sportsbook trusted by millions, safe, secure, fast withdrawals, everything you want. Well, except maybe a guarantee that your team will cover the spread, but that part's still on you. So here's the move. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use code KCSN, and when we go live December 1st, that $5 bet turns into $300 in bonus bets. That is code KCSN in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 plus and physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after they are issued. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
I'm Brett Goodwin, one of the owners of The Learning Tree. The Learning Tree is a neighborhood toy store in Prairie Village, Kansas. This has been here in this location since 2000s, and my husband Alan and I purchased the store in 2023. Alan and I grew up in families where we've always wanted to have a business together. Alan grew up, for instance, his parents had a jewelry store. I worked in a local toy store here in Prairie Village when I was growing up. When this opportunity happened in 2023, we knew right away we wanted to contact them and pursue the store. We wouldn't have been able to get the store without the team at Emprise Bank. From the day we contacted them, they knew what we needed to do, which was very helpful. I would absolutely recommend the team at Emprise Bank to anyone looking to secure a business. We worked with Emprise from day one. They were extremely helpful. They were always great resources. We talk to them frequently. They know the area. They're very friendly. We know who we're going to talk with, and they know what we need to do. We hope we'll see you at the Learning Tree.
Mike, appreciate you joining us on the Mizzou That's Who podcast here. You are the guy on the call. I'm glad we got you tied down after the first border war being back since 2011. How are things? How are you doing now?
Everything's great. Yeah, we're in the grind of football season from our perspective, kind of running around from one place to the next each week. But yeah, that was definitely a highlight of the early season, and I know it will be a highlight for the rest of the season. I mean, what an awesome atmosphere! First of all, the buzz going into it, we knew was great, so we knew it was going to be an exciting Saturday, regardless of how the game went. But then when the game lives up to it too, and is really good in the first half, I mean, there was so much that happened in the first half alone. All the fourth down conversions, especially from the Mizzou side of things, and there was just a lot going on in that game. And that's all we ask for as broadcasters. We just want a good, entertaining game. It makes what we do more enjoyable for sure. But yeah, that game had pretty much everything, and it was an awesome atmosphere to experience. And the game lived up to it as well.
I'm assuming, so a lot of people outside of the Midwest, outside of Kansas and Missouri, don't really understand the rivalry quite like we understand the rivalry. So I'm assuming maybe when you got that call, you didn't understand it that much. Did you have a lot of people kind of letting you know what it was all about? Did you do your own research? Like, what was your initial thoughts when they told you were on the call?
Yeah, so it's interesting, and I'll peel back the curtain a little bit. Like during our football season, we typically get our game assignment the week before. Most of the time, we find out on Sunday where we're going for the next Saturday. Sometimes we find out like 9 days in advance, like the Thursday before the following Saturday. Anyway, I say all that to say, in this case, we actually got our first 3 weeks of the season in August. So it was atypical that we knew what our first 3 games of the year were going to be, including week 2 in Columbia. So at that point, we were, starting to dig in a little bit and just get a cursory understanding of what the matchups are. And in my head, like I probably had associated with like a basketball rivalry more so. And in recent years, like they've played that more recently, obviously, than football had been before this past Saturday, and had like an understanding at least of geographically, where Missouri and Kansas are. So figured there would be some sort of rivalry, but no, like outside of thinking back and being like, oh yeah, I definitely watched the 2007 game. No, I didn't have a huge understanding of just how vitriolic the rivalry was. So then, yeah, once you really dig into it, and really, once game week comes around, because we were focused on our week 1 game, we were at Georgia, so you're totally locked in on them. But yeah, certainly by a few weeks out, had an understanding of what the rivalry was, and then getting into it last week, sinking our teeth into it. That was a ton of fun, and I love like the storytelling aspect of it and the historical aspect of what we do at heart. So reading and going back and watching old games and old clips and reading these great historical anecdotes about the rivalry and even the rivalry in other sports and how like certain basketball coaches handle things and things like that. That was so fun to dive into and then try to sprinkle in some of those throughout the broadcast. So yeah, really cool. Such an appreciation for the border war. And then, yeah, I mean, 14 years without playing, like, of course, this is going to be one of the most anticipated versions of it when you get it back. And 2 teams who I think are both going to have pretty good seasons.
Well, that's one thing we talked about this a lot leading up to it, is like the players on this roster had no memory really of these 2 teams playing, because they would have no reason to know the rivalry. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that like what both teams did to prepare these guys for this rivalry. We're from bringing in historians. I'm sure you guys have to hear all about it on both sides of the Missouri and the Kansas, of what they did to try to give this game more importance than what it had. I mean, obviously the trophy and the drum of everything is so cool, of how they're able to bring that rivalry trophy out there. But you talked a little bit about the atmosphere. I want to talk about that a little bit more too, because this was a game that the last time it was played in Kansas City in a neutral site. And we talked about this a lot when it comes to rivalry games, playing those on campuses. How much do you think that helped Missouri in having the atmosphere, being at home, having all of this renewed rivalry, being on a campus rather than on a neutral site?
How could it not? How much? I don't know for sure, but like, shoot, it's a real boost when you get, a home partisan crowd. And, we have a cool vantage point just looking out at the entire stadium from a press box whenever we're in one. and this is no disrespect to Kansas fans, like it's just the way ticket allotments work, but like there was not a lot of royal blue and crimson in the stadium at all. So yeah, how could that not have an impact on things for sure? And man, it was loud throughout. Like watching, we're up in the booth early and seeing when the gates opened and watching the students funnel in. And we're up in the booth. We have like a statistician and a spotter in addition to us calling the game. And my spotter said to me, like, I can't believe how early the student section is filled up. It was that kind of atmosphere throughout. So yeah, how could it not make an impact in the game? Although that being said, like I think Jalen Daniels in particular and Kansas's offense, like they handled it really well. I mean, they played disciplined football. It's not like they had all these pre-snap issues and played a sloppy game and that sort of thing. But man, how can you not be impacted by the crowd? And yeah, maybe the crowd helps on a couple of those throws where Kansas and Daniels was trying to connect with Emmanuel Henderson, or a ball goes off Henderson's fingertips. Like, yeah, maybe you can chalk that up to the stage and the emotion and the rivalry and the noise and all that.
So you went to Notre Dame. You covered Notre Dame, correct? I've been to a game in Notre Dame. I was actually there a couple of years ago when Stanford upset Notre Dame. A friend's brother played for Stanford at the time. Awesome environment, awesome stadium. How do you think that Mizzou kind of lived up to that type of environment that you're used to every week?
Yeah, I mean that was awesome. Like tailgating. I mean, I get up early on game days, so I was up at maybe 6:15 and went out to grab a cup of coffee. And like you're seeing people pack up to go tailgating, like dressed, showered, ready to go. And that's what big time football is anywhere, whether it's at Missouri, elsewhere in the SEC, whether it's at Notre Dame. Yeah, I mean, and it was loud. Like, and rivalry games are different, right? Like they're a different beast, but you could not have asked for anything better atmosphere wise. And I was so excited, to hear Mr. Brightside. Like I've probably listened to it like 3 times on the flight back afterward. And knowing that that's what they do, but then hearing it for real and just like waiting for everyone to enjoy themselves and express their thoughts on Kansas. That was pretty neat to experience.
Apparently not very good at following the instructions they put up on the scoreboard is what when it comes to that song. But I want to talk about the game itself, Mike, because I thought what I was really impressed with, I did a post-game show immediately after, was Beau Pribula. Beau Pribula looked the part. There was some adversity early, obviously with the fumble 6 that kind of gave KU a spark for a little bit, but then after that, it's some pretty clean football from the Missouri Tigers on that offensive side of the ball.
Very impressed with him. I was watching the film of the Central Arkansas game, but again, it's Central Arkansas and doesn't have the emotion attached to it that Saturday did. I was really impressed. I mean, yeah, like made all the right throws, like took what was there. I thought Kirby Moore, Eli Drinkwitz, I thought they had a great plan for him, and it seemed that they were, in rhythm together. And yeah, outside of the fumble, there wasn't a ton that you don't like from Beau Pribula. And I think he's a real guy. Like I think Missouri made the right move with taking his commitment, and that was big time. Like he looked the part in every way. I'm excited to see what it looks like the rest of the season and when he's playing, elite teams and great defenses. But he was really impressive. And I think if you're a Missouri fan, you got to love what you've seen from him so far.
It's one of those things where just watching the way that he overcame that adversity, I know he said that in his post-game press conference, that his whole story like to the team during the game was, how are we going to overcome adversity? And I think he absolutely nailed that. He went 30 for 39, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, like we said, can't really give him any criticism for that. My clutch MVPs of this game, though, is the entire wide receiver core, and not just Kevin Coleman, who was making big plays, and Olubade, who was making one-armed catches, but you've got Brett Norfleet and Olubade making great blocks downfield. You got Marquise Johnson taking out a safety on that big play for Ahmad Hardy early in the game. So who was kind of your MVP? I call them my clutch MVPs on this segment, but who your MVPs were for this game?
Yeah, I think the running backs were super impressive. Like, especially in the first half, I was really impressed with Ahmad Hardy. Like, that was real. It was breaking tackles and like running guys over and running through arm tackles. But he was pretty shifty too. I think he was a little more shifty than I thought he was going in. And granted, I hadn't watched a ton of the film from last year, so I was just going off mostly the Central Arkansas tape. But he was impressive. And Jamal Roberts, man, like a guy who's known for his dependability and being a glue guy, as Kirby Moore always says about him. Like, he had a gash play to seal it. Like, that's big time from him. So I was impressed with those guys. Yeah, Kevin Coleman, like that fourth down conversion on that quick hitter to him. Perbula just puts it right on him. That moves the sticks. Like, that was massive, like all the fourth downs were. But I thought Kevin Coleman was huge on that offense. And then just as kind of a sidebar, Donovan Olubade, like, I had to ask Kirby more about him going into it, because just watching the film and looking at the recruiting rankings and all that, you want to know more about him. But I thought he was really impressive in the touches he had in week 1 against Central Arkansas. And then like, they are really high on him. I mean, Kirby Moore said to us, like, he's going to be one of the best freshman receivers in the SEC. And it's easy to see why. And that one-handed catch was absurd, especially given the circumstances of that spot. I know he's kicking himself for at one point, like on a third down, not just turning upfield and getting the first down. But man, like, ton to like with him. What a bright future that he has. Yeah, Norfleet was big. I thought the tight ends on both sides were really important. Yeah, wide receiver blocking was certainly strong on the edge, especially on the Roberts run too, that basically sealed it. But yeah, I mean, Kevin Coleman for me, and then just buying stock in Olubade.
You can't talk about an SEC football game without talking about the offensive lines, or really both lines, the trenches. Like, that's where it's won. I was really impressed with Missouri when they came out there, and there's some questions with their offensive line, right, with how much they were going to gel. There was some pass protection issues against Central Arkansas, and not necessarily something you want to see as an SEC team against an FCS opponent struggling in pass protection. But I think there was a lot of those remedies when it comes to the offensive line, especially that first drive of the game. They come out there, Missouri's offense goes out there and they move the ball well. They're running the football really heavy. That goes back to like those running backs look like their SEC backs. The offensive line, I think, really, as they started to settle down and started to run the ball more, they kind of settled into it, and they looked like that they were an SEC offensive line.
I think so too. Yeah, I think that was a question that we as a crew had going in. Like Caden Green swinging out to left tackle, that was still pretty fresh. Like, what was that going to look like? Yeah, you'd seen, miscommunication and slide protection in the Central Arkansas game. But yeah, I agree. Very impressive. I mean, Kansas had some TFLs early, but that's going to happen. And like, they have talented players along their front seven for sure. Bengali Kamara flashed for Kansas, but like, we didn't call, like Dean Miller's name. Dean Miller is an all Big 12 defensive end, and we didn't hear from him much for Kansas. And yeah, like Bo Perbula, he had time to throw for the most part, and he was getting it out quickly too, which helps. But he had time. So yeah, I was very impressed by how the offensive line kind of gelled from week 1 to week 2.
Flipping over to the defense, it was an interesting game. It was kind of a tale of two halves, or even 3 quarters, if you will. So I think it's pretty obvious kind of what Mizzou was doing. I think that they wanted to limit Jalen Daniels' running abilities, which, if you've ever watched film on Jalen Daniels, you know that the boy can run. But what did you think overall about the defense? I think the secondary obviously was a little bit of a question mark, but what about like the defensive line?
Yeah, I thought it was good. Like, Jalen Daniels, like you said, is a really good quarterback. And I think he's going to have a great season. I think it's going to be the best season of his career. And I think he had a lot of really good moments. Ball security, like, that was something he wants back. But I think overall, Corey Batoon's group did a really good job defensively. I mean, I love their collection of edge guys. They did something unique. Like, they flipped side of the field that their defensive ends were on. Like, so from boundary to field, they did that with Darius Smith and Damon Wilson, changing up how they were doing that. And that was to counter what Jalen Daniels can do in the run game, specifically with the option. But I like those guys. Like, Zion Young made plays. Damon Wilson, I think, is going to have a good season. Darius Smith, it's good to see him healthy for sure. I really like Josiah Trotter. We had a bunch of his West Virginia games last year. He flashed. He made some big plays on Saturday. I mean, he should be, right? Like, he was a big portal ad. So you should be producing. And it is off to a great start so far. So I like the pieces on their defense for sure. Yeah, I think maybe if there was like a question coming in, I don't know, like corner, you guys would probably be a little bit closer tied to it than me.
Corner
But
for sure.
yeah, I got no issue with how the defense played. And I think, like, full credit to Kansas. Like, Jalen Daniels stepped up and made plays, and like Corey Batoon's defense, like, they took away Kansas's ability to run. So like Jalen Daniels had to make plays, and credit to him, he made throws. And yeah, there's a few he wants back. Like, that could have really changed the game if he connects on that deep shot to Henderson deep downfield. Then they take the one down the sideline. Then the next possession, it goes off Henderson's fingertips. Like, those 3 throws could have been very, very different. But yeah, I like how Missouri's defense looked.
I'm not sure how much you got to talk to Corey Batoon before the game started, but Kansas runs a pretty unorthodox offense. Like, it's an offense that is very strange. What kind of things did he talk about trying to prepare for an offense that runs some really strange looks, puts the quarterback right next to the running back and wildcat, and then will hand it off and try to throw passes and have the running back go out on routes? What did he say about this Kansas offense, how they're trying to prepare?
Well, I think the first thing was Jalen Daniels, right? Like, his ability to extend plays, to get out, and to be a runner, which Jalen Daniels, through his first 2 games, week 0 and week 1, hadn't done a ton of that. But that was certainly, I think, based on the opponent and game flow, like how things had gone and not needing to run your quarterback. But yeah, they were super concerned with his ability to run, defending the option. They kind of compared it a little bit to like Diego Pavia last year. And guys that they had faced before. And Corey Batoon said to us with Daniels before the game, he was like, it's kind of a morph of Diego Pavia and Tommy Castellanos, who's now at Florida State. Yeah. So that was a big focus for them. I mentioned how they kind of changed what they do with their defensive ends. They did that last year against Vandy and Diego Pavia as well. So that wasn't something totally new. And then as for Kansas's like big picture offense, we mentioned this right away in the broadcast, like, and you see it. Kansas has so much eye candy. Like, it feels like they never snap the football without shifting, tight ends from one side to the other. Yeah. There's pre-snap motion. There's, shifts and what some people call trades as well with, pre-snap alignment. And we asked Corey Batoon about that going in, and he said, well, the good thing is, like, we see that with our offense all the time. And he said, like, I think for Kansas's defense and for our Missouri's defense, like, we benefit because we've seen that throughout camp, and we know what it's like because our offense does that type of thing. And like, it is what it is. It's eye candy. Like, I mean, I'm not some linebacker and know how to explain it, but like, you sift through it and you key in on what you need, like, sift through what's actually important and try to put away the rest of it. And I think they handled that well. Like, I don't remember too many times where it felt like Missouri had struggles in recognition or where they were going. I mean, yeah, the play where Daniels ends up throwing it to Highshaw, the running back who had taken the direct snap. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could have been disastrous for Missouri. And, they're fortunate that I think the pass could have been a little bit better from Daniels to Highshaw. And it was a adjustment that he had to make to catch it and ended up not catching it. Yeah, I think you could argue that could have been better defended there. But shoot, I think by and large, Missouri's defense did a pretty good job handling all the shifts, trades, and motions that you see from Kansas, because that's a big hallmark of Kansas and has been for a few years now. Right. And stretching through multiple offensive coordinators. They're on their 3rd OC in 3 years. But you're going to get that with Kansas.
I really like Lance Leipold as a coach. I think he's done a really good job. I mean, you look back at what Kansas was in the 2010s, and unfortunately, Mizzou didn't get to play them during that time. But you look at what they were compared, to what they are now. I think he's done a really good job. But honestly, I think he was just outcoached by Drink on Saturday. I think Drink coached him and Kirby and Corey Batoon coached basically a perfect game. Like last year, the year before, you saw him have some clock management issues towards the end of halves. You saw him maybe not trust his offense to go for those 4th downs. He went for 5 on Saturday. So I think he really played it smart, went for it when he needed to, got the field goal, took the points when he needed to, and really had, like I said, basically a perfect game coaching.
Yeah, I didn't have any bones to pick with Eli Drinkwitz's game management in any way. I think if and I haven't seen what Lance Leipold has said in the aftermath. I didn't see what he said in his post game or if he's spoken to the media in the midweek yet. I was wondering in the moment before halftime why they maybe weren't a little bit more aggressive. And I know they did throw, a safe pass on first down that Kansas gets the ball with what? It was like 56 seconds left or something like that. Mm-hmm. They had all 3 timeouts. They basically hadn't touched the ball the whole second quarter outside of the Daniels fumble that ended up as a safety. So I was wondering like, hey, you got a 6th-year senior quarterback. You moved the ball really well in the first quarter on a couple of drives. With 3 timeouts, like why not get a little bit more aggressive? And that's a fine line, right? Like even my analyst up in the booth, Kirk Morrison, was okay with it because you do throw it on first down. It doesn't turn into much. You run it on second down. And all right, like if it's not there, kind of pack up and play for the second half. But I just think knowing that Missouri's offense had gotten in gear in the second quarter and then out of halftime that Missouri was going to get the football, I was just wondering if there would be a little bit more aggressiveness there. And yeah, if the first down pass play goes a little bit differently there for Kansas, maybe they probably do get more aggressive. But in that spot, I was curious to see how they would handle it. I thought the timeouts were interesting too on Missouri's drive down the field to end up getting the field goal headed to halftime that ended up tying it up. Like Kansas in that drive that I was talking about when they had the ball, like they only used, I think, 1 of their timeouts. So they had 2 left. They ended up using them. One, when Drink had the offense still on the field with 3 seconds before the end of the half. Yeah. You take a timeout, then Drink thinks it over, or maybe he knew that they were probably going to call a timeout so he could run out the field goal unit. But the timeouts maybe, gave Missouri time to get settled and think things over when they didn't have timeouts to use at that point. Not in terms of stopping the clock, just in terms of thinking things over a little bit more. So I think if you were to really go back and parse moments of the game, those are some of the ones that stick out. And that's full respect to Lance Leipold. Like he knows way better than me. And I'm a huge fan of his and think he's a great coach. I think they're going to have a real bounce back season this year. They lost so many close games last season, and I was very impressed with what they put out. But yeah, those were the ones that stuck out to me.
Mike, appreciate your time. I got one more question for you. I don't know how many more Maggie has for you, but I got one more for you. I just want to kind of a big picture question about Mizzou. You got to see this team for the first time this year. Thoughts on where they're going? I mean, this team's got expectations of kind of, that's something to prove mantra that they've had for this last 3 years now, basically. They do sneak themselves into the top 25, a team that felt like they should have been in the top 25 to begin the year. How do you see the trajectory of this team go moving forward?
I'm really impressed. The only other time I called the Mizzou game was the 2022 season opener against Louisiana Tech. And at that time, like the recruiting classes had been good. And so there was excitement, really building. And then to see what they went out and they did these last couple of seasons, the double-digit wins. And yeah, I was surprised. Like, how's that not a preseason top 25 team? That's kind of crazy to me. And I get it. Like, Bo Pribula's an uncertainty, and it's a new running back and some new pass catchers, and Burden's gone and all this stuff. I get it, but man, I like the team a lot. I like the edge guys. I like Trotter at linebacker. See what you get, in the secondary, I guess. But I think the arrow is certainly pointing up, and I'm so impressed by that coaching staff. Big fan of Eli Drinkwitz. I think he's got it going there. I would be buying stock for sure in Mizzou.
Well, hopefully you get a game next year so that you can check out our new stadium and don't have to be doing it from a construction zone. So, did you get a walk through it at all or anything?
No, we didn't. We were in the football facilities on Friday having meetings with everyone, but no, we didn't do any sort of walk through the construction. But yeah, I'm excited to see what it turns into and what it's eventually going to look like. But even despite that, like, you notice it when you walk in, and yeah, it's a bit of an eyesore, I'm sure, for everyone involved with it, but it is what it is. Like they're getting it done, and in no way did I think it took away from the game day atmosphere. And they changed the time gates open and stuff to make it easier for people to get in and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'll certainly be excited to see the finished product.
It's exciting. They get a lot of those renderings out there. It's rendering season at Mizzou. You get all those cool pictures going out there. But Mike, really do appreciate your time hanging out with us, talking border war, and your experience from your time in Columbia.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for the invite. It was fun to unpack it, relive it a little bit, and yeah, full marks to all Mizzou fans, everyone in Columbia. Ton of hospitality, and our crew loved being there. That atmosphere was awesome, and that's something it'll stick with us for the whole season too.
Love to see it. All right, that's gonna do it for Mizzou That's Who here on KC Sports. For Maggie Johnson, I'm Tucker Franklin. We will talk to you guys next week. We'll see you then.